Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may we kindly have your attention, please? The event will commence shortly. We invite you to take your respected seat. Once again, the event will commence shortly, so we invite you to take your respected seat. Thank you. Excellencies, ambassadors, distinguished panelists, representative of the business community, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from Jakarta. Buenas noches a todos los invitados de América Latina y el Caribe. Welcome to the Indonesia, Latin America, and the Caribbean INA-LAC Business Forum 2022. Today we will have a panel discussion, theme Business Models in a Post-Pandemic Era, towards digitalization of the economy, moderated by Mr. Muhammad Ahir from C Today News. As for the speakers joining us today, Ms. Mira Tayyiba, Chair of the Ms. Mira Tayyiba, Chair of the Digital Economy Working Group of the Indonesia G20 Presidency and the Secretary General of the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. Dr. Pablo Lizana Allende, President of Latin America Chamber of Commerce in Singapore. Mr. David Fernando Audi, Operating Partner at East Ventures. And Ms. Dita Maharani Aisyah, Co-founder and Chief Business Development Officer of BINAR. Therefore, without further ado, we would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Ahir of CNN Today News as the moderator for this session. Mr. Ahir, the floor is yours.
So hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for having me today as your moderator for this hopefully fruitful and insightful panel discussion with our remarkable speaker. So I would like to allow me to introduce myself again. My name is Muhammad Ahir. Currently, I'm working as a chief presenter and also a news manager at C2D News. This is an Indonesian English news channel that aims to deliver a perspective of Indonesia to the world. So we are under PT Telkom right now, so you can watch our news channel, one of it on IndiHome channel. So I have to express my gratitude, and also I'm delighted to moderate today's panel as our MC has mentioned about the topic or theme, business models in a post-pandemic era towards digitalization of the economy. As we know, the recent global pandemic claimed not only the lives of the afflicted, but also the lives of business unable to cope with the sudden shock to its system. So there have been many cautionary tales of business failing to recognize the threat and also to adapt to overcome the obstacles. Meanwhile, we know as well, at the same time, in the context of today, the fourth industrial revolution, we also hopefully we are hoping that this situation can bring us to unprecedented benefit to business sectors to scale up its efficiency, sustainability, and inclusion, of course, and achieve paradigm on how business should run, particularly, of course, after the pandemic. So today's panel will discuss the challenges and opportunities of digital economy transformation in Indonesia and LAC countries. That's the first things that we would like to discover through the panel of discussion. And then secondly, the impact of digitalization of business models in the two regions and expand the business, of course. The third one, expand the business opportunities for companies from Indonesia and, of course, Latin America and Caribbean countries to collaborate in the digital economy sectors. So right now, allow me to introduce our remarkable panelists for this morning. Joining us virtually via Zoom, the one and only Ms. Mira Toiba. Halo, good morning.
Good morning.
Ibu Mira, how are you?
Selamat pagi, good morning.
Selamat pagi, Ibu Mira. Terima kasih sudah bergabung bersama dengan forum panel diskusi pagi ini. Thank you for your time.
Terima kasih.
Sehat, Bu? Kabarnya, Bu?
Alhamdulillah.
Baik, allow me to conduct this panel discussion this morning with in English. So allow me again to introduce yourself, Ibu Mira. Ibu Mira right now is Chair of Digital Economy Working Group, or DEWG of G20 Indonesia Presidency. And then right now, Ibu Mira also Secretary General of the Ministry of Communications and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. And Ibu Mira earned her bachelor's degree from Universitas Indonesia and master degree from Northeastern University of Boston, both majoring in electrical engineering. Thank you, Ibu Mira. So right now, allow me again to introduce our next remarkable speaker. We also have this morning, and I would like to invite our second speakers, is Dr. Pablo Lizana Allende. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Yeah, you can sit. So how are you, Mr. Pablo? Please. Yes. And I believe this is not your first time coming here to Indonesia. Right. Thank you. So please give big applause for Mr. Pablo and Ms. Mira Toiba. We still have two more remarkable speakers for this morning. So we are very fortunate as well to have Mr. David Fernando Audi. Yes. Pak David, thank you very much for your time, for joining this panel discussion this morning. So can you give us a little bit hints from, according to your point of view, about what should we get from this panel discussion according to your experience?
Good morning, everybody. I have a Latin American Spanish name, Fernando,
Right.
but I'm 100% Indonesian. Well, this morning, I'm glad to be here, and I think we expect to talk more about the digitization and how the role of digitization to shape the Indonesian economy. And as we all know, Indonesia is amongst the best digital economy country by growth in Southeast Asia right now.
All right, so please give big applause once again to all the three remarkable speakers. One of the hints, Fernando, yeah, Pak? Your
Yes.
name is quite Latin America, so hopefully that you will give a lot of insight. So you also have given us about the word of digitization, yeah, that come with the word something that could come to the internal of digitalization, how to change the manual data to digital data. So last but not least, of course, I would like to invite Miss Dita Aisyah Maharani. Thank you, Dita. So how are you? You've mentioned to me you're not too far living around here, eh? So what's your hint for today, for this morning, about our panel discussion?
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. I think today I'm very excited to talk about especially digital economy and digital sector in Indonesia and how can we boost our economy by collaborating with different Latin America and Caribbean countries and vice versa.
All right, thank you very much. So please give big applause again for all of the remarkable speaker for this morning. All right. I have mentioned about the short CV from the Miss Mira Toy, but I would like to a little bit introduce to all the rest speakers. So we know that Dr. Pablo Lizana Allende is right now is president of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce in Singapore since 2017. Is that correct? Right, and then right now also as the director of Lizana and Company, founder and of course managing director. And the last PhD in physics. Is that correct? Wow, that's perfect. And diploma in physics and business administration, University of Aachen in Germany. Why did you choose to take your study in Germany? Mm-hmm.
It actually after living many years in Germany, I met my family there. And it's new, it's a different compared to us Latin Americans. It's a quite different approach on how to approach things. And combination between, you know, our Latin American very emotional attitude and the very systematic approach of the Central European, the Germans, might be not too bad. So there you have me.
It's balancing your life, right?
Absolutely.
Right, thank you. So you have the common, the similarity with our former president, B.J. Habibie, is the alumni of University of Aachen from Germany as well, our third president.
All right,
here.
yes. I know, very good.
And meanwhile, Mr. David Fernando Audi right now is operating partner at East Ventures, and his role is to work together with tech founders in managing aspects of their business and value creation. Hence again, what is the most wanted value creation right now, David?
Yeah, so the role of the value creations in venture capital is that when we invest in any startup, we are not only want to provide capital, but we also would like to work hand in hand with the founders to basically grow the company and help them with whatever they need, providing support and be it as an internal consultant or like a business development partner, basically to help them grow. So not only capital, but we help our portfolio company to grow.
Right, interesting. Hopefully we have Dr. Pablo here and also Pak Audi, and the audience will have the opportunity to scale up after this panel discussion. So meanwhile, Ms. Dita right now is co-founder of and Chief Business Development Officer in Binar. What is Binar?
Binar is an edtech company that focuses on upskilling digital skills, and we also help on the recruitment side. So we connect our graduates to hiring partners in Indonesia and abroad who are looking for digital talents. They can take some of our graduates. That's what we do in a nutshell.
Right. So you've been here. So do you have any, let's say, interested in doing some collaboration with Latin American and Caribbean countries?
Yes. Interestingly, some of our investors are coming from Brazil. Interestingly, the education technology sector in Latin America are very developed. There's a company in Brazil called Alura. They've been around for 11 or 12 years, I think. So they've been around for a long time, and the founders see an opportunity in Southeast Asia through us because the products that we are developing, the approach that we're using are quite similar with what they've been using, and they obviously been very successful in doing that. So the founders decided to invest as our angels. It's been very insightful to learn from them because Brazil, in terms of population size, it's pretty similar to us. In terms of economic status, I would say, is also very similar. So there's a lot of similarities in terms of consumer behavior and the needs for the education. So we've been learning a lot from them. On top of that, we've also been very kindly advised by the founder of UTEL Universidad from Mexico. It is one of the biggest online universities. They originated in Mexico, but they have been expanding their operation throughout Latin America. They're doing a lot of micro degrees as well as full degrees like MBAs and all that. And I think they've been around for I'm not sure how long they've been around, but they've been around for so long. And we've been learning a lot from them as well. And these type of collaborations, I think, are also very interesting, right? Because when we look at, I just talked with the representative from Ministry of Foreign Affairs just now, and a lot of the collaborations that we're doing between Indonesia and Latin America are really focused on, commodity sectors and I think real sectors. And I think there are a lot of untapped opportunities in digital economy that we can definitely collaborate and exchange ideas and insights and even build strong partnerships to grow together and grow the digital economy here in Indonesia and in Latin America.
Right, thank you for the very comprehensive explanation about your business right now, since you've been doing with Brazil and Mexico, and you've mentioned about another keyword. Maybe I will ask the next question to Pablo, but I think I need to go to Ms. Mira Toiba first. Ibu Mira, are you still with us?
Yes, for sure.
Yes, of course, this is one of the big first question actually from the panel discussion this morning. As we know that additionally, Foreign Minister of Indonesia, Ibu Retno Marsudi, mentioned on our special interview with C today that Indonesia wants the G20's work to be directed towards concrete cooperation. Therefore, there have been a lot of collaborative projects to make it a concrete cooperation. So in terms of DEWG, Digital Economy Working Group, what kind of action actually can be established so far, Ibu Mira, to meet the expectation of business people in boosting the digital economy collaboration externally and at the same time, of course, digital transformation internally?
Well, thank you, Pak Akhir. Again, very good morning. Buenos dias, selamat pagi, honorable speakers, honorable participants. So let me introduce our DEWG, Digital Economy Working Group, as well as the Ministry of Communications and Informatics Cominfo program. These two actually, we have aligned programs on digital transformation. So as we know, digital transformation is one of the priority issues on Indonesia G20 presidency this year, along with the health architecture, global health architecture, and energy transition. So interestingly, on digital transformation issue, actually it's not only the EWG that have discussions on this issue, but also many others working groups such as education group, working group, employment, women, Empower 20, and so on and so on. So that alone shows that digital transformation or digital issue is really a cross-cutting issue. It's not exclusively for a certain working group. So in the EWG, we discussed three priority issues that also mirroring Cominfo's priority programs. The first one is something that deal with digital infrastructure. The issue is connectivity and post-COVID-19 recovery. So we understand that during the pandemic, we are very cautious about what we call digital paradox. On one hand, digital connectivity, digital technology creates many opportunities for basically anyone, including the micro and small businesses. But on the other hand, we also learned that not all of our people, especially the micro and small businesses, have the ability to access the digital connectivity or to make use of digital technology for something that creates economic value. So having this in mind, we really push forward the connectivity issues. What I mean by connectivity is not only providing digital access, spatially or regionally, for unserved communities, underserved communities that basically connect the unconnected. But we go beyond. We also want to be sure that the digital space can be used by all groups of people, including the so-called vulnerable people, people in vulnerable situations, including children, because children during the pandemic also use digital technology, digital access intensely because they go online learning using the digital facilities. One of the key that we push forward on the G20 agenda is online safety. So again, connectivity, providing digital access is one thing, but make sure that the digital space can be used productively is another thing. That comes to the second priority issues, that is digital skills and digital literacy. We understand, the access is there, but can we really use that facilities productively? Having the value added, the economic value added, especially for micro and small businesses, because we saw that the MSMEs really got hit during the pandemic. And then the third one, the third priority issues is cross-border data flow and data free flow with trust. We know that data is everything now. And to make sure that the data can flow freely, but with trust, there are commonalities, complementarities, convergence that we need to discuss, because we understand that the approach, the mechanism, the instruments used by the G20 members are different. So we came up with the workshop on how we can converge or at least build common understanding on the different aspects of the data free flow with trust and cross-border data flow. So basically, those three priorities areas or priority issues align with our ministry's priority program. But on top of that, I also would like to highlight about the cybersecurity and personal data protection. So we, the government and the parliament, recently passed the personal data protection law just last month in September. So we really hope that these instruments, can build trust even more, because one side we really want to push forward on the digital economy, but on the other hand, we also need to create a safe environment so everybody, comfortable to use the digital space. So basically, those three areas, Pak Akhir, that we discussed in the EWG.
All right. Thank you, Bu Mira, for your very comprehensive explanation about the three priorities and also the highlight of the topic of digital economy working group of G20 Indonesia presidency. And the next question I would like to give you to Pablo. At least we have some parameter, let's say, and in terms of we are trying to build the understanding about how to build business models in a post-pandemic era toward digitalization of the economy. We know from Dita has mentioned, and I believe it's aligned with your principle, about we really need to know about consumer behavior. You've mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, if we fail to understand the consumer behavior, or more maybe a cultural behavior, it fails to do the business. And Bu Mira just mentioned about when we want to do the business in digital economy, we have to concern about infrastructure, digital infrastructure, digital literacy, data free flow, cybersecurity, and also personal data protection. So what is the trend and the latest situation in Latin America and Caribbean countries?
Thank you for your question. Let me start pointing out a key point, in my view, for the entire discussion we are having. We are talking about digital transformation. Everybody in the world, the entire world is working on this transition, on this transformation. And this transformation is linked, and you know that as well, when everybody's talking about, if we do that, we're going to have productivity increases, we're going to have increase in efficiency, we're going to have an increase in effectiveness as well. So, but what does that mean? That means as well, if we don't do the transformation, we are lost. So everybody, every country, every company, every consumer has to be linked to the new economy. So this is a major change we are experiencing in the world, and those not doing this change, talking about nations, talking about countries, regions, and talking about the single companies. We just heard the MNCs, the small and medium-sized companies, and so on. If they don't manage to do the transformation, they are going to lose competitiveness because all the others are going to be doing that. This is one quite important statement, and we have to be aware that not doing the transformation is going to have a negative impact on us. This is one statement. The second statement I would like to do, and this is particularly linked to our region, so to Indonesia, to Latin America and the Caribbean countries, where without elaborating too much on these, we are very similar in many aspects. if you look at our structures of our societies, if we look at the development of our economies over the years, you're going to see quite a lot of similarities. So, meaning we have as well quite a bit of very similar challenges we are facing. And we can detail these as well a little bit more. And these, to me, just one sentence before anticipating what I want to elaborate later on, is the chance to collaborate between our regions. So because we are facing similar challenges, there are enough space and a lot of space to collaborate. But one more aspect I see quite important is the fact that we are talking about a new era. So it's the new economy, which is driven by an extremely fast change in technology. So the technology rate change is huge. So the pace of the change is defined by the technology rate change. And this is what we need to follow. And as usual in life and in the world, those being faster are going to be earlier at some objectives, and those being slower, they are going to be lacking some space to move. But the chance I see for us as well, and now coming back again to our regions, is we don't need to go through the entire development process many industrialized countries had to go or went through. So I'm talking about, the industrialization phase, which made, Western Europe, the US, and so many countries to achieve the wealth status they have today. We don't need to go exactly the same way, so industrializing our countries. We have the chance, because of the development of technology, to leapfrog. So in German, physics. In German, there is a word which is very nice describing this leapfrogging, which is called Quantensprung. So we are jumping from a state directly to another state. And the new state we are talking about is the state defined by the new economy. So we have the chance to do that. Why? Because there is not huge capital investment related to this. It is knowledge. We are talking about a knowledge-based development. And fortunately, and this is my third point I want to emphasize now, is what do we need to do all these changes? We need motivated people. And in Latin America, coming back to your question, what is, in my view, the fundamental part of all what we are talking about is we have a very motivated youth in Latin America, which is developing and seeing new opportunities to grow for themselves, but for their countries as well. So having new perspectives in their lives, which their parents didn't have. But they are having that. And this is motivating a lot of people across the entire continent. So this is, to me, a very positive effect of what we're experiencing now. If I may, very quickly.
Yes.
I have 1 minute more?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I may, very quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Very quickly, because we only have less than 20 minutes for all.
Right. So one more comment is, we don't need to go to the detail, what is the progress in Latin America, what are the coverage rates we have, what is the adoption of the new technologies. This is known. I mean, the fact is that we are progressing in Latin America. We are moving forward. And a very important indicator, and here I have to talk to my colleagues, is the development we are seeing in the startup space. So the startup space, one hand, companies are trying to get capital to develop their technologies, but on the other hand, investors interested in investing in these companies. And this, to me, is one of the most important indicators to see whether we are on the right track or not. Because we have the free market defining whether we are doing the right things or not. An investor, and I'm pretty sure we're going to hear about this in a few more minutes, an investor is not going to invest in a company which has no future. An investor is going to invest in a company where they know they are going to increase their return. So, and what we are seeing in Latin America right now is a huge increase in investments of VCs, of venture capital companies, of family offices, of wealthy single people, even government funds. We have the GIC from Singapore investing in Latin America. So we are seeing there is a response from the international community, which is a very positive development for us. And now really the very last sentence is, what is the challenge I see in all this development? The challenge I see is that we lose the momentum we are in. We shouldn't lose the momentum. We have a momentum and we have to be very determined in continuing moving in the development of all our nations and all our tasks we have to do. And we have quite a bit of stakeholders related to that. And the second challenge I do see is this is not just a change. This is a revolution, what we're experiencing. So the transformation is huge. We are talking about a huge size of a change, and we are talking about extremely complex development. We just heard just before the reach of small and medium-sized companies, the reach of the consumer to get all them on board to participate in this new development. So that's, to me, the second quite important risk or challenge we are facing, and we need to keep moving. We have to be determined in doing this change, in doing this transformation.
Thank you, Pablo. So we have our business lady and businessman next to me. So, Pak David, you go first. You've listened about the parameter from Bu Mira and also from Pablo. What do you think? How should we develop, again, back to the theme, how should we build the business models in a post-pandemic era in these two regions? After we know that Pablo or Mr. Pablo explained about the cultural behavioral in Latin American countries, they are really highly motivated. At the same time, we have to address and realize about the obstacle or the challenges additively into two regions. What do you think?
Yeah, that's actually very true. Actually, it was a very interesting comment from you, Mr. Pablo. Similar to Latin America, Indonesia actually skipped that pretty much the industrialization, growth and service growth. Yeah, so from the commodity-based economy, so we directly skip these two phases, the industrialization, the service sector, and then after that we skip towards the consumer tech. Yeah, because when we talk about digitalization, it's all about data. And when there are like huge population, such as like in Indonesia, 270 million people, and also in Latin America, I think there's like about 600 million people that use a Spanish language. Then the amount of these people generate a huge amount of data. And this data is, can be monetized through technology, especially consumer tech. That is why in Indonesia, you see big e-commerce company like Tokopedia. And then in Latin America, there is like Mercado Libre. Yeah, and there's a lot of other examples. So East Ventures, with more than a decade of experience as an investors in Indonesia, we have witnessed hundreds of entrepreneurs who work hard and leverage their skill and knowledge using technology. For every new startup that they build, and every new product they introduce, and every talent that they recruit, our startup founders are taking us one step further toward the great development of the digital economy in Indonesia. And we have been working alongside these entrepreneurs to build Indonesia digital ecosystem from the ground up since day one, and spotting opportunities early, as we are the first venture capital to support Indonesia two homegrown unicorn, which is Traveloka and Tokopedia. And to date, we have invested in more than 250 companies, where we are also an early believer in investors in some of the Indonesia big tech giant companies, such as Tokopedia, Traveloka, Ruangguru, Sendit, and Sosiola. And based on this strong testament of how technology has empowered the digital economy in Indonesia, we believe with the great momentum and development that we are experiencing, we are getting even closer to the Indonesia digital golden era.
All right, Pak David. Before we go to Ms. Dita, Pablo, would like to mention to us, maybe for myself at least, we don't know yet about super apps category, for example, in Latin America. What is the name of the super apps there that we should know, and in what kind of aspect they doing in everyday life? For example, we have Goto here. It's about transportation, online transportation, and also food transportation at the same time. So what is the, let's say, the top three? Yeah. Yeah.
I have the top 10 actually here.
Right. You can mention briefly.
Let's talk about the top three. We have, I mean, these are basically as well the most valuable companies, the startup companies, which is Nubank from Brazil. It's a bank. Nubank.
Nubank.
Yes, Nubank from Brazil, founded in 2013. We have Kavak from Mexico, Mexico City. Is an online used car marketplace. And we have Tienda Nube from Argentina, which is an e-commerce company. But we have quite a bit more. We have Rappi from Colombia. We have quite a bit, around 30 unicorns, and 20 unicorns last year coming in, and having a huge investment amount absorbing these companies. Yes.
So I believe they have their own business model post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And then do you think, is it possible for them to, let's say, do the collaboration here between the two regions? And will you recommend them to come here to Indonesia, for example? Because we know at the same time, when we talk about the funding, I've discussed with one of the diplomats here, it will be a competition, of course.
Definitely.
But at the same time, we can do the collaboration according to your experience and also the parameters. What do you think?
Definitely, definitely. Collaboration space in the digital economy is huge. We can learn from each other. The only thing we need to do is to talk to each other, but as well, more important, to create the frame to talk. This is a G2G and it's a B2B responsibility. So we need to create the frame, and I'm glad to see we are creating the frame. And if you ask me, 15 years ago, there were very limited number of agreements between the two regions. Today, we have an increased number of agreements, so FTAs and so on and so forth, including the digital aspect.
I think we have one new idea. After this panel discussion, we can make the next series with B2B, between the, let's say, the super apps from Latin America and the super apps here in Indonesia. So, okay, thank you for the idea, Pablo. So go to Ms. Dita. Dita, you've mentioned that your company, Binar, is also aiming for being super apps for upskilling and recruiting services. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So yeah, you can, let's say, you've listened to the explanation of Bu Mira, Pablo, and Pak David as well. And what do you think? Again, we go back with our theme, how we should build our business model in a post-pandemic era toward digitalization of the economy between these two regions.
Yeah. So I like what Dr. Pablo was saying earlier about knowledge-based development, because technology changes at an accelerating pace, so that the people who are in that sector has to adapt very quickly. Otherwise, they will become obsolete very quickly as well. We've seen that trend with, let's say, Friendster. It was very hype one day, and then the next day it was...
Did you play Friendster?
Yes, I was already born that year. Yeah. So as you can see, the technology pace is really fast, and that's why in order to support that knowledge-based development, technology education is very vital. And this education has to be supported by our internal longing for learning. And we have to have a mindset of being a lifelong learner. What is on trend today could be very well obsolete in the next short years. So the thing that I've learned from developing Binar and trying to increase the supply of digital talents in Indonesia, So by the way, Indonesia is in need of 9 million digital talents to support the digital economy that is predicted to be valued at $1/3 trillion by 2030, contributing 18% to our GDP by 2030. And in order to support that, we need 9 million digital talents. And today, we're only producing 1.1 million talents.
So you would like to mention that the urgency of digital talent is really extremely needed right now, particularly
Extremely
here in
needed.
Indonesia, yeah?
That's right. And a lot of the things that we are trying to solve are very aligned with the priorities of the Cominfo and G20, which are data, cybersecurity. These are some of the courses that we are trying to push out in the market and try to gain the awareness. And similar to Latin America, I think, at least the conversation that I had with the founders of Allura, we have similarly about 200 million plus population, is that information gap is very massive depending on where you are. So like in Jakarta, people know what digital startups is, people know what the super app is, and then you go to like the second or third tier cities outside of the metropolitan areas, and you ask them, do you know what is a digital startup? People don't know what it is. And so the challenge for us is, how do we build that digital awareness so that everybody can participate and consider the prospect of career in digital industry.
Right. Dita, hold there because we are going to Miss Mira. Miss Mira, are you
Okay.
still with us?
Yes, Pak Ahir.
Yes. Ms. Mira, you've listened to all the panels here, and I think it's quite really important to talk more deeper about digital talent and about the human power in terms of a digital economy. So I believe that the Cominfo, or the Ministry of Informatics and Communication, has the program ongoing about the digital literacy. And also at the G20 event, you've mentioned about this as well. So how's the progress so far? Because from Dita, as let's say you are a user, yeah, and you are the practitioner who are doing how to build the knowledge-based development through your super apps, Binar, and you are still thinking that there is a huge gap of, you've mentioned about the information gap and also the lack of the person who has the skillful related to the digital economy. So what is your point of view about this, Ms. Mira?
Well, the issue of digital literacy, digital skills is very on point because like I previously mentioned that providing digital access is one thing, but make sure that the use is meaningful, is empowering, is productive is another thing. And the tools, the instrument to have a productive use of digital access, digital infrastructure is digital skills and digital literacy. We have encountered problems such as hoax, for example, disinformation, because of the very limited of digital literacy. So this is how we describe these two programs. Digital literacy is for everyone, basically it's for public. We, disseminate, for example, on how to make use of digital space productively by, for example, how we identify hoaxes. During pandemic, we have encountered a quite number of hoaxes on vaccines, for example, on the COVID itself. So identifying hoaxes is one of the skills that we introduce. And then there are other modules like digital security, also one of the module of the digital literacy program. But what I'd like to highlight in this opportunity, and then probably further to discuss the potential collaborations with LIC, is that the Digital Leadership Academy. So basically, Digital Leadership Academy is part of our Digital Talent Scholarship Program that basically provide training, is a non-technical training, short course for public policy makers. So digital technology, we know it can go far, but by the end of the day, the policy, the regulations that provide, that shape up the ecosystem itself, because it provides boundaries, it provides corridor on how we will extend or develop our digital ecosystem. So we want to make sure that we have space for innovation. That's why the public policy makers need to understand the digital benefit as well as challenges. So we already have collaborations with 8 to 13. We are on the process to, add more global universities like Harvard, like MIT, National University of Singapore. We have also Oxford University. So we have collaborations with global universities in providing Digital Leadership Academy. So I don't know, because we are very keen on the digital skills, digital literacy program. So I just want to use this opportunity to further, probably we can have further discussion with LAC if they're interested in one of these programs.
All right, Bumira, as we know, in G20 forum right now, at least there are 3 countries from Latin America: Mexico, Argentina, and also Brazil. Maybe you can give us just a highlight about, is there any discussion about this topic, urgent topic this morning, talking about digital talent, digital people from, let's say, the Latin American countries, and how the countries changing the information and building the understanding how to resolve this issue?
Well, interestingly, the issue of digital talent, the short of digital talent, is not applicable only to Indonesia case, but also to G20, other G20 members, including the members that you mentioned, Pak Akhir, the LSD. So in our discussion, we have, as I mentioned, 3 priority issues. The digital literacy, digital skills, that is the second priority issues that I can say that the discussion went very well, very smooth, because everybody was on the same page that we need to push our, readiness by improving our digital skills and digital skills. So the same thing with the Brazil, Argentina, and Spain.
Yes, go on, Ms. Mira.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So the same thing with.
Yes, take your time. Sorry, I couldn't see you before. Yeah, while we're waiting for Ms. Mira, please be prepared, because our next session is going to Q&A session. So hopefully from the floor, you have a lot of questions to raise and to discuss together here with the panelists here, because we believe that we already have something more deeper from the topics of this morning: how to build the business models in post-pandemic era toward digitalization of the economy. One of the important things we need to know about the mapping of digital people in the 2 regions, yeah, Mr. Pablo. So, Bumira?
Yes, really sorry about that. But basically, the Brazil, Argentina, and Spain also shared their experience on how to develop, to nurture their digital talent. And as one of the deliverables of these second priority issues, we introduced the toolkit to measure our readiness to nurture digital skills and digital talents. This is a standardized toolkit, but it is not, it is adaptable. What I'd like to say is it is adaptable, that every member can customize this toolkit to fit with their specific condition. And what is interesting about this toolkit is also this instrument highlights the gender gap in digital technology. We are talking about the short of digital talent, but we also talk about the divide in gender. So again, this is something that we produce, the Digital Economic Working Group produce, Indonesia initiatives, but supported by all the members. So I think that's one step that we can have a common understanding on how we manage our digital talents, Pak Ahir.
All right, thank you, Bu Mira. Also, you've mentioned about one key important words again, digital gap, including in gender, because if you follow the State-Owned Enterprise Summit yesterday in Bali, which attended by Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister, he mentioned at least two things. If we want to succeed in terms of also in this time of digital economy, at least we have to have less problem in digital infrastructure. And he also mentioned about the important role of women. Women. Yes, also it could be a new topic. It could be part of your Q&A. So let's go to our next session. Please, from the floor, I would like to ask you who will ask the question to the panelists here in the room, or also to Bu Mira. All right, while we're waiting for the question from the floor, so Mr. Pablo, you've listened so far to the explanation from all panelists. Again, when we want to do the business models in the post-pandemic era, let's say we have a lot of homeworks actually, but in a positive tone to build how to let's say to meet like your idea for the next session. We should then we have make a new framework between B2B, not G2G. Like, for example, that's a new idea for me, I think, from this new panel discussion this morning. So what else do you think that we can make possible after this?
I mean, you are asking me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there is another important thing we didn't mention too much maybe today, but I think the question we should ask as well, why are we not doing more? Why are we not having more collaboration between our regions? And there is one fundamental thing I think we should keep in mind. We should to know each other better. We should to know what is the demand, now from the point of view of Latin America, for example, what is the demand Indonesia has and Indonesia cannot fulfill by itself. So what is the add-on Latin America can bring in? So to identify these gaps, I like to talk about strategic gaps. To identify these gaps means we need to dedicate time to understand what is happening on the other side of the ocean, and vice versa, because that's the base of collaboration if we look at something very tangible. I give you an example. I was just talking to Ambassador Nogura and Ambassador Tatang yesterday, and we talked about the mining sector in Indonesia and the future, the objective Indonesia has in new batteries for the world. We are talking about e-vehicles, so we have a new demand for batteries. These batteries, they need quite a bit of raw materials, lithium, for example. And the question Indonesia has to ask, of course, do we have enough lithium to fulfill the demand we are expecting to get? And if the answer is yes, fine. But if the answer is no, where do I get the lithium from the world? And this is a very specific space where to collaborate. Chile has lithium, other Latin American countries have lithium in our region. So that's a very specific base to start collaborating. And this, to me, is the start of doing business models. We need to understand the markets. We need to understand what is the demand. We need to create the frame conditions for doing these transactions. And we need to have the private sector, if needed, to finally implement it, execute it.
All right. In more technical, in what sector actually do you think that we can go on to the next step for building this business model between two regions? For example, if I'm not mistaken, Shopee.
Shopee.
Yes.
Yes.
They are in Latin America right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So maybe you can share with us, according to your observation, how do they make there so far? So that we can take some lessons from there.
I mean, Shopee is an e-commerce platform, and we have many e-commerce platforms. They are offering products, and what we need there is offer and demand. And there is a lot of offer from Shopee, and there is demand from the consumers. So we are the consumers. So this has to elaborate, this has to develop, this has to get the success it needs in Latin America, in this case, in order to fly, so to say. But for that, what is needed, and we talked about right now about to get the people familiar with all these. The model is, at the end of the day, simple. The business model is simple. We are offering a digital marketplace where demand and offering are meeting. And this it's a volume game. So we need to have people, looking at these and using this platform to fulfill their own requirements.
All right, so I think we can take a note so far in order to build, let's say, the next business model between the two regions. We need to go back to some basics, actually, to like you mentioned about business model. We need to build the understanding about the market between two regions, and also back to the basic law of economics, where demand and supply could come, and we play for the volume in the term of marketplace. So let's go back to the floor, if it's in the room. If anyone of you already have the question, okay, you go first. Yes, can somebody help to give the microphone? I will give you the microphone. So just one short question, and you go there. Please introduce your name, where you're from, or what is your one question? Just turn it on.
It's not working.
Can you check again? You can use this first.
I'm sorry, thank you. Hello, my name is Ana Bilbao. I'm from Brazil. I work with intellectual property in a private office, and I was wondering, because I truly believe in IP, intellectual property, as a tool for development, and I work with startups and all these companies in Brazil. And how do you deal with that here? It's for the three of you, actually, because in Brazil, startups doesn't protect their assets, their IP assets, because they don't know if they're going to survive the next 1 or 2 years, and patents, for example, takes like 10 years to get ready. And investors also doesn't matter about it, because they only want to get their money and take their money back after a while. And how do you work with that here, with patents, with intellectual property assets in general?
Right, before answering the question, so could you please just give a highlight about the startup map in Brazil? I mean, what is the top 3? Is that the same e-commerce like here in Indonesia, and also about the travel apps? What is the?
Actually, I was hearing all of you saying, and I was feeling I was in Brazil, because it's the same conversation, it's the same problems, it's the same need of people to work with, the programmers and all this stuff. It's all kind of the same conversation, the same needs. I think we can share and we can help each other with that, because we have the same, I don't want to use the word problem, we
Yes.
have the same opportunity to grow with that, yeah. It's the same conversation, it's the same topics in
Yes.
Brazil.
What about the top three super apps in Brazil? Is that the same?
my God.
E-commerce, travel, or maybe, for example, in the Philippines, actually, about building a home is being one of the super apps in Philippines.
You use apps for services a lot in Brazil, like Uber and a lot of, how can I say, to solve the problems of the daily needs for people in Brazil. And also we have a lot, I'm from the south of Brazil, and we have a lot of tech companies who has solutions in business and finance solutions for all over Brazil.
All right, thank you. So let's start for answering the question from you, Pak David, to answer the question about protection and also the point of view from the venture capitalists.
Sorry, what was the questions about? Like, I mean, like, there's like top three apps and yeah, maybe just one sentence. Sorry about it.
Okay, do you protect your IP, intellectual property assets here? Like patents and trademarks and to go off Indonesia?
Okay. Well, okay, that's actually a very interesting question because prior to joining the venture capital, I was actually running broadcasting companies where in the media industry, intellectual property is very, very important. And yes, actually with the onset of digital and technology, the intellectual property have been more successfully monetized than before it was not. Yeah, for example, if we're talking about music, like before the onset of the technology, before all these platform like YouTube, Spotify, or whatever, Indonesia, there is a rampant piracy in Indonesia, where you can, buy illegal CDs and all. But then there is a technological disruption. Yeah. So first, the industry complained because the sales of CD are going down because people are listening through digital, right? But then over time, the revenue they made from the digital, in particular from monetization, from various social media, including YouTube, Spotify, and a lot of other platforms, are gaining traction, and it's actually worth a lot more than the old days of selling CDs. Yeah, so that is why intellectual property is very important in technological adoptions. And I think talking about this, yeah. So yes, to the answer to your question, and I believe actually Indonesian government is have a very robust law and regulation regarding the intellectual property, yeah, and it is good, yeah, and again because of the technological transformation, this has been able to be more successfully executed.
Okay, but a bit hold on there because I've just got the information that Bu Mira should leave earlier than us. So I would like to ask Bu Mira, maybe you want to answer a little bit about the issue of protection of intellectual property in digital economy here in Indonesia, in brief, and then your closing statement for us.
Okay, well, thank you. I think that is one of our challenge. I used to work for creative economy previously. That's one of the challenges. We try to develop a business, we try to sustain the business, but sometimes we forget the little things about the intellectual property. For example, Indonesia is very rich in handicrafts. So we are, developing a series of handicraft, for example, for souvenirs. And then we sell it online through e-commerce marketplace or whatever. This e-commerce marketplace is not only for national platform, but also global, on the global platform. And then they study our transaction, our profile. For example, this digital platform can know how much we are willing to pay for a product, what kind of product that we are very much into, what color, what size, and so on and so on. So on one side, digital platform is giving you the platform to reach out to beyond your domestic environment. But on the other hand, it also gives you a challenge, and on this one is intellectual property. So along with you know, pushing or even encouraging MSMEs to go online, but we also educate the MSMEs. This is a different set of challenges that you will face. So we have a program called Bangga Buatan Indonesia, proud to be, with Indonesian product. All of the knowledge that they need to know when they are online. For example, the intellectual property, the financing, because at some point they will need capital to additional capital to scale up. And then we also give the knowledge of how to do digital marketing, for example. But this is the best part. All of this knowledge is not provided by the government itself, but also it is provided by the digital platform itself, by its community. So it is a collaboration, because we know that the government cannot do everything by ourselves. So we nurture the collaborations with the digital platform, with the community, with this civil society, and so on and so on. So this is really our effort together. The intellectual property is only one of the aspects that we are, educating especially micro businesses and small businesses to be aware of. Along with any other issues like I mentioned, like the financing, digital marketing, and so on. So to conclude, here, honorable speakers, what I'd like to mention is that we constantly strengthen our digital ecosystem. It is not only providing the access, but also to make meaningful use of digital connectivity. And cooperation, collaboration among stakeholders at national, regional, and global level are a must. Therefore, we are open to further discuss the possibility of cooperation. Thank you, Pak Ahir.
Thank you, Bu Mira. Please, big applause for Ibu Mira Toibah. Thank you very much for your time, Bu. Hopefully that you can join us again for the next discussion. Thank you. So we still have more questions here from our audience via Zoom. There's at least two questions. The first one from Az-Zahra Zafira and the second one from Farhan. So let's answer the first question. From Az-Zahra Zafira, she asked, so what is the right way that we need to do so that the millennial generation, we're talking about digital talent in terms of millennial generation, understand the benefit of digital in order to achieve Indonesian digital golden era, or we can talk as well in the same region, in the Latin America and Caribbean countries. Dita, you are more millennial than us here, so you can inspire us here.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think the key is for us to have the mindset to shift from being a consumer to being a creator. I think like in social media, for example, we Indonesians spend 4 to 5 hours per day in social media just to scroll pictures and videos of people doing God knows what. And I think we have to start thinking about how can we become a participant, an active participant, not just a user. How do we leverage e-commerce as a seller instead of just buying? How can we be a content creator instead of content consumer? And I think the benefits of career in digital industry as being a programmer, for example, is massive. And I think people already know this. The salary of beginner programmer in Indonesia is around $500 a month. I know that's still low compared to a lot of countries, but for non-tech jobs, the average salary, monthly salary is around $170. So tech jobs give you 3x salary than non-tech jobs. And I think if we look at the opportunity of what that can do to improve our livelihood, to have some impact on intergenerational impact even, you know, these people can then send their kids to better school, you know, give them better nutrition and things like that. That's going to give an indirect impact that I think is really, really powerful. So just having this out there, because I think when Binar goes to a lot of areas outside of the metropolitan, right, the conventional wisdom is if you wanted to be successful, there are 3 paths, 3 career paths, and 3 only, which are being a doctor, a lawyer, or a banker. That's like the conventional wisdom. And I think we have to add one more to that, which is career in digital.
All right, thank you. So hopefully, Zahra, you get enlightenment from the answer from Dira. So our second question from Zoom comes from Farhan. What is the worst if a recession occurs? How do we, as entrepreneurs who are just starting to deal with it? So let's assume that Farhan is a digital entrepreneur right now and is worrying about a recession. What do you think, Pablo? What should, not just Farhan, what should we do in terms of digital economy when we are developing our business model post-pandemic but upcoming recession?
There is no difference to the general development we would see when if there is a recession. I mean, in one word, it's going to be a delay, a hard delay. It's going to hurt. We are going to see companies having severe issues, but it's going to delay. This is not going to be something discouraging in total the development of the digital space. So what is going to happen? One word, it's going to delay the entire process.
And what should we do in the term of, in the moment of that delay moment as a digital entrepreneur?
It's difficult to say. I mean, you see the challenges when every company has if they are in recession. If they are not able to sell their products, they need to downsize. And this is going to have an effect for everybody. So it's a challenging moment for companies, so for the private sector. It's a challenging moment for the public sector because we need to deal with unemployment. So we're going to have all these chain, and this is going to affect the digital space in the same manner it's going to be affecting the traditional economy. Right. So there is what to do. We have to see, I mean, we have to take severe measures in the different spaces we're talking about, public and private. And it's going to affect the digital space in the same manner it's affecting the traditional economy.
Could you please elaborate more a bit about this severe indicator? About this severe indicator that
yeah,
you
we
mentioned.
need to, I mean, if we are not able to sell our products, so we're not going to get the income we need to cover the costs, we need to deal with reducing costs. And reducing costs is usually linked to layoff. And this is something every company has to go through. And that's where we need, and for these situations, it's where we need to find collaborations between government and public sector, public sector and private sector. So it is recession. We know how to deal with recession, and we know what is the impact of recession, because it's not going to be, if we have it, and seems to be we're going to have it, it's not the first recession we are experiencing.
Right. So being more realistic at the same time and still keeping the optimism, yeah, by doing observing the delay and also the downsize the business at the same time, yeah. All right. So we have our last question from anonymous attendee, and it is addressed. Oh, you want to? Yes, of course.
Okay, no, it's on. Okay, can I add something to that? I think as an entrepreneur, I'm actually very, very positive in terms of recession, because back in 2009, for example, when we had that recession in the US, some of the most successful companies were started back then. Uber, Airbnb were all started in 2009. And I think it's also an opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs to take this time to realize what are the problems that are existing and how can we solve it more efficiently? How can we create a solution that is more targeted towards that particular in time? Because Airbnb, for example, during the crisis, people were starting to think about how can they leverage the assets that they already have, which is their homes, and create additional income from that. And that's basically how the idea was generated. And they have now become a unicorn that is very successful. So that's the first opportunity. The second one is that recession means not a lot of entrepreneurs are hopeful about that time, which means less competition. And that's great. So when you want to go out grabbing your market or grabbing investors, you face less competition. Although I do agree that during recession, fundraising is a massive challenge. For Binar, we raised 3 rounds of funding. The first one, our seed round, we raised in 2020, which was in the beginning of COVID. That was impossible. And we're raising again now, and it's also very impossible. But as long as we have a strong fundamental, and maybe Pa David, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, right? We've been having a lot of good conversations with a lot of VCs because we have quite strong fundamentals. But to your point, Dr. Pablo, I think I agree where there's a lot of efficiency measures that you still have to take if your business is already ongoing. Right sizing is probably necessary, reprioritizing business directions, and allocating resources in terms of your capital, your people, into the ones that have high impact and low effort is also necessary.
So thank you, Rita. That is very insightful answer from the practitioner. So instead of just being optimism, see the opportunity, because there will be less competition, and we can use the opportunity for that. Pa David, please give us more optimism, more than that Dita has just given to us.
Okay, so just to continue what Dita said, actually from a venture capital and investors perspective point of view, is that the vintage of fund that usually is during the recession usually gave the best return. Yeah. So if you invest during a recession, during a tough time, where valuation are discounted in a big way like today, so let's say the fund vintage is today, it will perform. Versus if the vintage is during like a bull market, that's very logical. So yeah, I'm very optimistic that that going forward, actually, it's better actually to start business during a recession, yeah, rather than starting something during the bull market.
Interesting. Hopefully from these 2 regions already has some idea, maybe, yeah? Instead of some other people who stop or step back from making new business during the hopefully not upcoming recession, but we have to be ready for that. And hopefully from the floor and also via Zoom, you have some ideas after two inspiring answers from the panelists. So let's go to the last question to Pak David. This come from the anonymous attendee. He or she asked about Indonesia and American, Latin, and Caribbean countries are known to have an abundance of communities. So how we can make better use of digitalization to support our businesses? And any examples of the models? We know that we still need, for example, soybeans from Brazil. It's commodities. Could it be we make it in digitalization, for example, maybe a kind of that kind of commodities, or maybe you have any another insightful answer for that?
Yeah, we are quite lucky, Indonesia and the Latin countries, because we have abundance of commodities. As we know today, the market that perform relatively better are the commodity countries, yeah? Commodity-based countries, just like Indonesia and Latin. In the past, like a couple of years ago, market where there are a lot of tech, based on tech companies like NASDAQ, Kospi, Korea, and a lot of other example are performing well, but the commodity doesn't. Now what happened is the other way around. The tech valuation come down, but the market with a commodity base actually enjoying a lot of benefit. Yeah. So I guess the question was that how the digitization can be used to optimize the business. I think this is not only about
commodity.
It's not only digitization is very important and very useful, not only for a commodity-based business. It's actually important for any kind of business. So a couple years ago, we know that technology and technology player, technology companies are seen as a disruptor. So it become like public enemy number one. This is like, let's say, a couple of years back, like more than 5 years ago. But now it seems that everybody embracing technology, like all this technology, everybody wants to partner with the technology company. In the past, they were seen as a disruptor, and legacy corporation, big companies, big traditional company are avoiding the disruption. But now it's the other way around. Everybody wants to embrace digital. Everybody wants to partner with a digital company. And if you notice, a lot of the big corporation, including the state-owned enterprise, they have a new C-level position. It's called CTO, not Chief Technology Officer, but Chief Transformation Officer. And the role of the Chief Transformation Officer is how to transform the existing business into the digitalization of the business. So yes, I think definitely now is the time. I think now you cannot say that, oh, my business has nothing to do with digital. I think all business now have to deal with the digital. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. And because of that, I think now the role of the technology, education, the new graduate in tech are more important as ever. Yeah. Even now today, even though we are not working in the technology sector, or our role is not a technology-related role, we still have to understand about technology. We have to understand about the digitalization. So because of this reason, I think the future for technology will be even stronger. Yeah, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think going forward, and Indonesia and Latin American countries will experience a digital boom going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen. So we are going to end this panel discussion this morning. So before we go from this room, I would like to know about your closing statement from all the panelists. We can start from you, Dita. So what is your closing statement for us here?
Yes, I think it's very exciting that Indonesia and Latin America and Caribbean countries are having this kind of dialogues to strengthen our partnership, and I'm very excited for both regions to grow together in digital economy and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. And from you, Mr. Pablo?
Absolutely. Following the just a statement just now, I want to encourage everybody, all of us, to get closer. And we have a lot of opportunities because of the nature of our regions to collaborate. I'm looking forward to the next years, and I'm pretty sure we're going to increase our cooperation. So I would like to encourage everybody to continue.
All right. Pak David?
Yeah, I think both regions have a lot of similarities in terms of the language, like other than the Chinese language and Indian language. And after the English language, Spanish language is actually the most spoken language in the world. 600 million people spoke Spanish language, which is a Latin American language. And then after that, there is Indonesian language, which is like 200 to 300 million people. And there is a lot of similarities in both economies. So I'm looking forward if we can do more together with the players and institutions from Latin American countries. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right, so please big applause for the three panelists here. And hopefully don't forget with our theme for this morning, business models in a post-pandemic era towards digitalization of the economy. I think we can also start from what Ibu Mira have mentioned before. We can start from the frame of G20 because there are some Latin American countries there with the concern of three priorities in digital infrastructure, talking about connectivity, digital literacy, and of course the third one is data free flow. So thank you very much for your attention this morning, and hopefully after this we have some informal chit-chat. You can go deeper with the panelists, hopefully to talk more and to get more closer, as you mentioned, Pablo, yeah? To know about the culture between the regions and the opportunity to make some digital economy business, even if we are facing the upcoming recession, as Dita mentioned to us. So thank you very much for your attention, and back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Before we close the panel session, we would like to invite the moderator and all of the speakers for a photo session. Please stand up at the stage. The photo session will begin shortly. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for our moderator and panelists of the day. Thank you very much. You may return to your seat. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached the end of the panel session. Once again, we would like to thank you for your attention and wishing you a successful discussion afterwards. I want to kindly remind you that INA-LAC Business Forum 2022 is not over yet. We will have a rounds of business meeting and business pitching, which will bring together business people from Indonesia and Latin America and Caribbean to meet each other virtually at the 6th floor of this building. We would also like to remind you that lunch will be served at Mangan Restaurant at the 2nd floor of this hotel at 12:30. Once again, we would like to thank you for your participation in INA-LAC Business Forum. Stay healthy and safe, and see you at the next INA-LAC Business Forum. Hasta la próxima.